Hey everybody, Mark over here at Twanger's Turntable. Been away a little while. Well, I guess only about a week or so, but that feels like an eternity sometimes in the vinyl community and the YouTube in general. Hope you're all doing okay. Thanks for tuning in. Just wanted to jump on a thread that Mike over at MGK Boston started. 12 plus 1, 13 greatest hits. And he showed that the story of the Clash, man, oh man, would I ever love to have that. It's a greatest hits compilation he showed. I've never seen it before. After I watched his video, I started looking it up, and it's a pretty pricey item, so I don't foresee having it anytime soon, but certainly we'll be on the lookout for it. So without further ado, I'm going to present my 12 plus 1, 13 greatest hits, and I have a couple of honorable mentions. I hope that's okay. But it's a great thread. I've not been doing a lot of videos, as I alluded to, but I've been watching some, and it's blowing up. It's all over the place, this 12 plus 1. So kudos, Mike. Good job, man. I have struggled to find this many greatest hits, and actually I was surprised that I had this many on vinyl because, as I've mentioned before, I don't have a lot of vinyl really in the scheme of things. I mean, there's so many great artists out there, such great music. I used to limit myself to basically a couple of genres: hard rock, classic rock, metal. I've expanded a little bit slowly. So that being said, I actually don't have very much in the metal category for greatest hits, but I am going to start off with one, and it's probably one of the first records I ever had. So without further ado, let's get into it. First one I've got is a Black Sabbath compilation, greatest hits. This one is from 1977. It's a UK pressing. But yeah, it's a good one. It's got the popular Paranoid, NIB, Changes, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, Iron Man on side 1, and then side 2, flip over, Black Sabbath, War Pigs, Laguna Sunrise, Tomorrow's Dream, Sweet Leaf. You know, basically right up till volume 4, I guess would be there. But yeah, really, really good. Right up to Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, obviously. Actually, he's got Sabbath Bloody Sabbath on there. But I've had this one for many, many years. Like I say, it's one of the first I've ever had. Next up, some of these I would not have bought otherwise for the bargain stores, the thrift stores. And as I mentioned in one of my other videos, I had a friend, more of a colleague in the business that I make a living in. He had encountered a whole box of vinyl. There had to be over 100 in there that somebody had owed him a debt. And so I went through that and I picked up a whole bunch, and they were basically about $1 each. So that's the bulk of what I've got here in my greatest hits. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have had them, as I alluded to, because of the box I had kind of kept myself in for so long. Not that I wasn't aware of other genres. Back in the early 80s, I was into doing DJs at my junior high school, and a lifelong friend, you know, his family had a DJ band playing at dances and whatnot. So I was exposed to a lot of the popular 80s music. So, but I ramble on, which is often what happens when I start talking about music. It's just something that, you know, I think we all have that in common. So I did pick this one up at a thrift store, and it's actually in really good condition. Once I cleaned it up, it sounds great, and familiar with almost every song on here, because most of us of a certain era probably grew up hearing this all over AM radio and FM for that matter too. But Jim Croce, Photographs and Memories, his greatest hits. So it's got all the popular ones on there. And you know what? I'm going to stop going on about every song on each album or it'll take forever. So that's my number 2, Jim Croce, greatest hits. Another one I used to play all over the airwaves at our junior high school, 10cc, greatest hits. This came out in 79. It's their hits from 72 to 78, but it came out in 79. My older brother had this, and I used to take it to school with me so I could play it. It's got the rubber bullets and all that, but very, very good greatest hits. If you like 10cc, check it out. Next up is, of course, Queen greatest hits. Can't go wrong with that. I mean, I know there are those not Queen fans, but that's of course, there's always going to be someone who's not a fan of something you show. That's just the nature of music. We all have our own tastes. But this is a really good comp. Greatest hits by Queen. Something I was just mentioning about on another gentleman's channel who I was watching his thread of 12 plus 1 that Mike started. Rob, and he presented a Trooper Hot Shots. I remember when that came out over at my elementary, junior high. It was a consolidated school. They had a contest going on, and that was the prize. And I was just mentioning that years later, funny enough, in our little, well, the closest town, city to where I grew up, there was a club there that you go and see some bands. And this was later on in the 80s after their heyday. And I saw Trooper there in Prism, and we were having drinks and stuff with them after the show. So I was just sharing that little tidbit. Who would have known years later? But this all comes around to this band, Prism's Greatest Hits. So that's number 4. And I showed this before. It's just one I picked up. It was a very cheap issue, so I grabbed it. But it's got her hits on here. It's Juice Newton, The Very Best Of, Angel of the Morning. This was one that was always in my life from the time I was probably 6 or 7. But Nazareth's Greatest Hits, thanks to my older siblings. Grew up spinning that nonstop. And this is another one that I still spin. Actually, I was just listening to it last night after doing a cleaning on it. And that's Aerosmith's Greatest Hits, of course. And this is another one Rob was showing. His is much better condition than mine. This is one of those ones I pulled out of that box I was alluding to. I got them all for like $1. The vinyl itself plays really good, but yeah, the cover or the artwork is pretty beat up, and it's the Eagles' Greatest Hits. You can see something had stuck to it, and when it was pulled apart before I had it in my possession, but whatever. I mean, the vinyl itself plays really good after I cleaned it up. This one I showed recently as well because it's a fairly, not a recent pickup, but again, I was going through my collection, cleaning them up because I'm so far behind. I didn't spend enough time doing that, but George Benson, it's a Greatest Hits collection. It's a really good album. Of course, I think you're going to probably see this one a lot in this thread. It's a very popular one, probably one of the most popular Greatest Hits compilations. CCR, good one. This one I got last year. It was on the very cheap as well in the bargain bins. I featured it in one of the other videos I'd done, and it was the Bee Gees, their Greatest Hits. Timeless, the all-time Greatest Hits. Surprisingly, a lot of tunes on here I knew that I either had heard as a younger child and forgotten, but they were still there in your, muscle memory, I guess, your data banks. But yeah, a lot of memories on that one. And this one I picked up again at a thrift store. I'm not actually a big fan of this band. In fact, I don't know. I haven't gotten rid of any vinyl yet, but this one I may get rid of. Just not a big fan, but it's Steely Dan Greatest Hits. I don't want to spend a lot of time in my videos talking about bands I don't like. I'd rather emphasize what I do like. So just, there's songs on there I'm familiar with, but it just doesn't move me in the same way of stuff that I really like. And you all know what I'm talking about when you hear something you like. And as I mentioned, a couple of honorable mentions, very special. This one is special because my dad used to really love this album, and he played it a lot. And in fact, one of the songs on here, I swore, I always associated it with the old man because it was one that we listened to a lot together. But it's Jim Reeves, an old Jim Reeves record. Have I told you lately that I love you? And I don't even like country. I mean, by and large, it's hit and miss, right? But I don't listen to country. But there was a tune on here. Yeah, there it is. First track on side 2, Roly Poly. So, but yeah, that one. I wish I had a Greatest Hits that I could represent of my mom. That would probably be like a George Jones or something like that, or an Elvis. But I don't have it, so that's an honorable mention. And this one too, I always love this song, and I bought this compilation just for this song. Recently, I came across it at a thrift store for like $2. But again, the vinyl is really good, and it's James Taylor and his Greatest Hits. And yeah, Fire and Rain, just an incredible tune. Always love that tune, and I bought the comp just for that song. Most of the other tunes on here, I could take it or leave it, but that's my 13 plus, 12 plus 1, and in fact plus 3 because of the honorable mentions. That's it. That's my entry into this thread. Again, Mike, great thread. What an awesome idea. I tend to come up with these ideas and then I don't have time to do them or whatever. I just don't. But this is a good one, and I'm glad I was able to take part in this and support the thread and your channel and everybody out there. Thanks for stopping in and watching my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm going to try and do a couple more this weekend. We'll see how things go. But until then, take care, everyone. And I'll see you again next time here at Twanger's Turntable. Cheers, all.